You know, we're all a little obsessed with data, right? We track our steps, our sales, our test scores. But what if the very numbers you're tracking are actually leading you down the wrong path? Well, today, we're going to dive deep into something called the metric trap and figure out how to measure what actually matters.
So let's just start with this question, because it really gets to the heart of it. To show you what I mean, let's kick things off with a simple story.
So, to really wrap our heads around this, let's just imagine a simple scenario. Picture a restaurant and the owner is trying to figure out, is my chef any good? Okay, so the logic seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? If more and more customers are paying for meals, that must mean the food is good. High revenue feels like a really clear sign of success. But is that the whole story?
This is where things start to get a little tricky. See, revenue, it can be kind of a deceptive number. A really clever marketing campaign or some big discount can fill all the seats for sure, but it doesn't tell you if people actually enjoyed the food. On the other hand, if you track something like how many people finish their entire plate, well, that gives you a much more direct signal of satisfaction. It's really the difference between measuring activity versus measuring actual quality.
In this whole restaurant problem, it actually points to a much bigger psychological pitfall, one that affects all of us probably more often than we even realize.
See, our brains are basically wired to win. You put a number in front of us and what do? We instinctively start trying to make that number go up. The real danger is that we get so focused on winning the number game that we completely forget why we even started playing in the first place.
I mean, we've all been there, right? We mistake being busy for being productive. It's super easy to measure the number of hours you worked, but it's way harder to measure the actual impact of that work. So what do? We optimize for the easy number, time in the chair.
Or, hey, think about fitness trackers. Hitting that 10,000 step number becomes the entire goal, doesn't it? We forget that the number is just supposed to represent being healthy. We've kind of turned health into just a step counting game.
And this pattern, it shows up in our most important systems too. I mean, think about education. When success is measured mainly by standardized test scores, what is schools going to optimize for? Well, test-taking skills, right? Not necessarily deep learning or genuine curiosity.
It all really boils down to this one incredibly powerful idea. We become what we measure. So if we're not really careful about what we choose to track, we can accidentally start encouraging the exact opposite behavior of what we truly want.
And this isn't just some random observation. It's a well-documented thing. There was an economist named Charles Goodhart who saw this pattern so often he actually gave it a name.
So what do you call it? What do you call it when the very act of measuring something changes how we behave and makes the measurement itself kind of useless?
Well, it's called Goodhart's Law. That's the formal name for this exact trap we've been exploring.
This one sentence just says it all perfectly. The second the restaurant owner makes daily revenue the main target, it stops being a good measure of the chef's quality. The moment 10,000 steps becomes your target, it stops being a good measure of your overall health.
So the key here is to see these metrics as more of a compass, not the destination. They're just meant to give you some feedback, a little bit of context inside a much bigger landscape. They shouldn't become the only thing you're looking at.
Okay, so now that we get the trap, we understand the problem, how do we actually avoid it? Well, this is where we learn to start tracking with purpose. In our data-obsessed world, it is so easy to fall into this trap of thinking that if you can't measure it, it must not matter. But the most important things in life, like creativity or morale or a genuine connection, are often the hardest to put a number on. We just have to remember that what is measurable isn't always what's valuable. A fantastic example of this is using something called nonscale victories for weight loss. If you only focus on the number on the scale, which can be so stubborn, you might miss all these other incredible signs that you're actually getting healthier.
Things like having more energy, your clothes fitting better, or just waking up feeling refreshed, these are all powerful, totally valid signals of progress. They create a much richer, more complete picture that can keep you motivated, especially on those days when that one stubborn number on the scale just refuses to move.
All right, so let's bring it all home. What is the final lesson we should really take away from all this?
Don't chase the metric, chase the mission. That number was only ever meant to be a signpost, just a little piece of evidence to show you that you're heading in the right direction. Remember, the real goal is the destination, not the signpost itself.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. Take a look at the key numbers that you track in your own life, whether it's at work, for your health, in your personal growth, and then just ask yourself this one crucial question. Is this metric serving my goal, or have I started serving the metric?